So what's your current job role and where do you work?
So, hi, I'm Darrell. I'm a software engineer at Google, working within the new health division. I help to build mobile and desktop apps that aim to improve healthcare for doctors and regular people.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Cool. So I was raised by my mum. She immigrated here to the UK from Ghana shortly before I was born. I grew up in West Norwood in South London, where I attended St. Luke's Primary School and then went on to Archbishop Tennyson's for secondary school in Kennington. After that, I went to Imperial College London to study physics at university. So I got a bachelor's in physics and then a master's in computer science. And now I'm at Google.
So what got you interested to start working in your current sector at this job?
Sure. So I think that it's fair to say that today technology is perhaps the biggest driver of change, especially in the business world. So the first time in many decades, you have the top 4 or 5 biggest companies in the world, all technology companies, i.e. Amazon, Google, Apple, etc. I didn't know this before I came to university, before I went to university, but shortly after joining, I was shocked to see how many people who were my age, sometimes even younger, were using science and maths to build apps that were changing the world. As soon as I saw that, I wanted to be a part of it.
So what is your job like, your daily routine? What sort of things do you tackle in a day?
So day-to-day, being a software engineer means primarily that you write code. So we build apps and websites for some of your favorite applications like YouTube. So at Google, we make YouTube, Google Maps, Chrome, Android that runs on your phone. And so a typical software engineer will be given a task, maybe build a part of a website or part of a mobile app, and you spend most of your day writing computer code to make that happen. Sometimes you have meetings here and there, but it's mostly designing and writing computer code.
Is there any skills or attributes that you need to work in the field that you work in?
Yeah, I think the most important are curiosity. Like you have to be curious about how things work. You look at a website or an app and have some interest in how it's made behind the scenes, as well as a desire in yourself to make things. So if you're interested in actually building things that other people use, then it's definitely a job for you.
Are there any Black leaders in your field who have inspired you?
Yeah, I would say that unfortunately there are few Black people in technology. So a lot of my inspiration has come from other fields and most importantly, other people that I know personally. So these are mostly peers that I have who have achieved things despite their backgrounds. So I have friends who have parents who are immigrants like my own, who are Uber drivers and come from working class backgrounds. Yeah, they also attended Imperial, Cambridge, Oxford, that sort of thing. Friends who unfortunately had trouble with the police when they were growing up, but then work at Goldman Sachs in New York. So very unlikely outcomes that I look to for inspiration.
As a Black person in your field, have you faced any challenges?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest problem that I've experienced with being a Black Londoner in tech is feeling excluded. So ever since I went to university, I've become really used to being the only Black person in the room. And I think differences oftentimes are a very good thing, but they can also be really bad when things aren't going very well. Because when the only thing separating you and the people who are perhaps doing well is, the color of your skin or your background, your culture, it can be easy to assume that is the reason for you not doing well. And I think a lot of people have left, big tech companies and dropped out of university for reasons like that. So that is hard to overcome sometimes.
What advice would you give to a young person who's interested in joining your sector?
So I would say everybody should probably learn to code. More specifically, if you want more specific advice, that is, then feel free to reach out to me. But otherwise, like just go on YouTube, go on Code Academy, Treehouse, those sort of websites to learn how to code. If you're thinking about uni degrees, I would say study a STEM subject, like maths or computer science, because oftentimes they have coding elements involved. So you get used to the idea of writing computer programs. And then once you get into university, definitely go for a software engineering internship.
What's the best thing about your job?
I'd say the best thing is I get to work with people who are having impact on a global scale. So the work we do at Google, is billions of people. So on my team alone, I sit next to people who were the people who wrote the first version of, for example, the Google Maps app. I get to use and test Google products before they are sent to the billions of people who use them worldwide as well. So that's a nice bonus.
How do you use your everyday life as inspiration?
How do I sorry, can I hear the question again? How do you
use your everyday life as inspiration?
Oh, okay. How do I use my everyday life as inspiration? I would say that, so before the pandemic, so I still live in West Norwood, but of course my office is in King's Cross. So every day I'll take the long bus and like tube journey from West Norwood in South London to King's Cross. And I would see like this huge difference in the way the environment looks. So when I get off the bus at Brixton, not everybody, but there's a lot of Black people, a lot of people from ethnic minority backgrounds, a lot of poor people. But then when you jump on the tube and you get off at King's Cross, it's completely changed. And like you're the only person around you. So I look at that and I realize that like I have an opportunity in front of me. Not just that, but I'm also representing a community, a people. So every day I go into work thinking that, and that, that keeps me going.
So we know you're currently working on the health division of apps. So like, how long does it take to build up or make an app for Google?
It can vary quite a bit. So you can probably yourselves like make an app nowadays in like one weekend. Like there are tools available online that you can literally sit down. We have these things called hackathons, where like people don't sleep for like 24 hours and they just like hack out one app. That's the whole like idea behind it. You basically just stay up all night and you just like make an app, and you can like probably make a very simple app in that time. The sort of apps we make probably take more on, like 3 months maybe, like a couple of months, like a quarter of the year or something like that to get out an initial version. Sometimes like the product that my team works on, one of the products that we have, has taken maybe 2 to 3 years, and that's because like we work in health, and so we have to get all of these we have to have all of these health checks to make sure that what we're doing is safe for patients. And yeah, because we're also working with big hospitals, so we have to like prove that we're safe to use, and work to get all of the necessary contracts with the hospitals. So that can take quite a bit of time.
You see how you're saying that you work with hospitals? Do you work with different doctors like worldwide, or is it just like in like America or London?
Yeah, right now it's in the US and the UK. So yeah, in America and in London. But the plan is that it's going to be like every doctor everywhere.
Has it been difficult to work during the pandemic?
Yes and no. I'll say that one of the benefits of being a software engineer is that it's quite easy to work remotely. So, like my day to day hasn't really changed, as far as my actual work goes, because most of the time you're just sat behind your computer programming anyway. So that hasn't changed, of course, because you don't need to get up or be in an office to do that. Something that has changed, of course, is you might be coding up some application, and then you might turn around to the person next to you to talk about it, in real time. Now you have to get on a video call to do that, and it's not as engaging, especially when you have a group discussion when you're on a video call, as compared to when you're in person, like huddled in a circle, for example. The unfortunate thing, of course, is you're basically in the same, like your room is your office or your living room is your office. And like now you have no reason to go outside. So before you had the luxury of traveling all the way to the office and, seeing a different site every day. In our Google office, we also have a lot of perks. So we get like breakfast, lunch, and dinner for free. We also have access to a gym for free. So all of those perks basically went out the window.